And welcome to RTF Sports Talk. I am Michael Buckcaster. I'm joined, as always, with Matthew Lyle. Matthew, how are you doing today on this fine Tuesday?
I'm doing quite exquisite, living the dream. Can't complain.
And as always, Billy Hatton over there in Mountain Time, Texas. How you doing, Billy?
A little bit chilly over here in the desert, but nonetheless, let's talk some sports.
Billy, every time you say it's chilly, it's like 55 degrees there. You
I
need to.
believe it is somewhere close to that.
Oh, what I would give for some nice 55 degrees.
Oh
It's
no,
like
right now it's 30 degrees. That's pretty cold.
okay, we'll give you that one. But as you guys know, last night Monday night game took place. The Eagles did pull it out. I believe it was 23 to 10 or
28-13.
Yeah, 28-13. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong at the wrong score here. Some big news coming out of that game. Redskins injury bug still hits them like again. They have another broken leg on a quarterback, a broken leg on a center as well. So Matthew Lau, I'm going to go to you first, as always. Here, what is your takeaway from the Monday night game?
Well, I mean, it's like I was hoping, and because of pure stubbornness that I continued to pick, I was 100% going that the Eagles are still, and they look like they were coming to form. Now I know the way the Redskin team is depleted, and they're not what they once were at the beginning of the season. But I felt like Carson Wentz made some nice passes. I felt like Golden Tate got involved. The run game looked pretty solid. Just overall, I felt that this is an Eagles team that is going to come and take this division. Now, they have Dallas next week. That'll be key for that. And I'm probably speaking more out of wish and hopes, but I'm hoping that this team is going to start gelling and able to clinch that division and that playoff spot. As far as the Redskins go, they just need to listen to the football gods. The fans do. Because they came out and they were playing really good, and the football gods said, calm it down. And they gave you some injuries. You didn't listen to them. You said, no, we're still going to win this division. So they gave you some more injuries to your offensive line. You can't have that. They said, no, we got a decent defense and a decent run game and a good quarterback. We're good. Alex Smith goes down. The football god says, now, oh, well, we got Colt McCoy. He's a long-time backup. He's going to come in there. It's not going to matter. The football god said, calm down again. Now you have Mark Sanchez. So if you're a Redskins fan, just give up the dream. It is now officially over. Put the lid on that one. I've been saying it for about a month now. I didn't trust them when they were firing on all cylinders, and you sure can't trust them now.
Oh yeah, similar sentiments. Just outside the Eagles, I didn't think the Eagles played a very good game yesterday. I thought that they probably got lucked out because they were playing a injury decimated Redskins team. I think we all picked the Eagles to win this game, obviously because of injuries. The injury bug hit them again last night. This doesn't really give me much confidence in the Eagles going forward. Honestly, as Matthew mentioned, they got the Cowboys next week. I'm going to stick with the Cowboys pick on that, but just game point. There's really nothing to talk about other than just the injury bug that seemed to hit the Redskins. I mean, this was a team, I believe, that was at one point a 3-game lead ahead of that division, if for sure a 2-game lead. But I believe they had a 3-game lead, and as soon as the injury bug started hitting, offensive linemen started going down. Alex Smith went down. If I'm not mistaken, Colt McCoy got hurt earlier in that game with a shoulder, and then he fractured his fibula. It seemed like that's the common theme of that team. That's 3 broken fibulas in 3 years, basically. Chris Thompson last year in New Orleans. You got Alex Smith a few weeks ago, and then now you got Colt McCoy. That team could have been good riding that defense, but with the injury bug to the offense, there's no way that they can compete in this division now.
Alrighty, guys. So you guys heard that here first. Now let's go ahead and move over to the college rank here. Some breaking news broke yesterday. Urban Meyer is going to retire after the Rose Bowl. Since 2001, he is the most winning coach in college football with 186 wins. Since his tenure at Ohio State started, he has a winning percentage of 900. He is 82-9 in 7 years at Ohio State. So Matthew Lyle, is this a surprise to you that he is stepping down? And
No, I mean he's
yeah.
done this before. I mean it's a health issue. Now he was able to muster back up everything. He laid low for a year or two, and then his quote unquote dream job. He's an Ohio kid. His dream job of Ohio State came available, and he was able to pounce on it. But here he is back again. A couple years into this job, and the health issues are back. He's had the issues off the field going into the earlier part of the season. This is a no-brainer to me. I thought he was going to step down. I don't see. Me and Billy talked about this the other day. I don't see him getting back to the national prominence. I think that 2015 year was his swan song. Went through 3 quarterbacks, the first ever playoff. Was able to beat Bama, to able to get it done on a great finish. And as me and Billy talked last night, this is his first ever Rose Bowl. So drew a blank on that one. His first ever Rose Bowl. That's kind of what you want as an Ohio State fan, even though it's not as prominent as it once was. He's still something he can check off his bucket list before he retires. I think this is about the best time for him to retire. Saves his health. Let him spend some time with his family. I don't know the degree of everything going on with him, but go cherish the little things in life now. You've done everything you can. You got 2 national championships. You took Utah to a big BCS bowl in 04. Now you're getting to finally, potentially, there's a good chance they're going to cap off a Rose Bowl. Put your feet up and call it a day after this one.
I won't speak on the health issues because I don't know the extent to that. I just know the last time Urban Meyer said he had health issues, a lot of people suspected it was just because he didn't have the star caliber of talent that he's used to having. But that nonetheless, Urban Meyer's a good coach. Once the rumors started coming out that this was probably going to be his last year, then they asked him that in the press conference last week sometime, and he kind of shook it off. I'm not going to answer that yet. You kind of knew the writing was on the wall right there, because if he wasn't going to retire, he would have just said, "No, I'm going to be back next year. I'm going to and we're moving forward." Good thing that he actually did it now. Now that can kind of save face in some of this recruiting. Something to note: Dwayne Haskins is probably going to leave now that Urban Meyer is not there. So it's probably a lock now that he's leaving. But and just Matthew, to your point, you said 2 national championships. If I'm not mistaken, then I think it's 3.
Right. Yeah, he did have
with
2
the
at Florida
back-to-back in 8 and 9, right?
Well, it was
or 9 and 10.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
It was 7,
somewhere in that
yeah,
7 and 8.
6 and 8, or yeah.
Yeah,
LSU
because he won it
in
with
between.
Leak, and then he won it with Tebow.
Yeah, so 3, and then the 2015 one. Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
right.
but he's a good coach. You figure this is going to happen. From the report they were saying he was already having issues. If you remember back in the offseason with the issue he had with I can't remember his old coach, receiver coach that he had. So yeah, this was coming. Most people knew it. So no, I'm not surprised.
Alrighty, guys. So sticking in the college ranks here, the awards are starting to come out here, and they have narrowed down the Heisman to 3 people: Haskins from Ohio State, Murray from Oklahoma, and Teyu from Alabama. So Matthew Lau, who do you foresee winning the Heisman this season?
I was going to go. Tua was my favorite every week from that Louisville game all the way up to the Auburn game here. But the way that he played against Auburn, yes, he is injured, but that's also kind of who he is. He's a kid with a lot of upside, but if he tries to make something happen with all that upside, it can turn into downside. Yeah, but I think when Hurts came in and led those final couple of drives and came back from that 28-14 deficit, it kind of showed you just how great this team is. And I think, even though I think it's going to be a close race, and I think we're not taking anything away from Tua, I think it kind of revealed what was going on behind the curtain, and it kind of showed you that, yes, Tua is good. But this Alabama team is still going to be good without him. Me and Billy has talked about that, and I don't think they'd be in the same situation that Jalen Hurts was their one and only quarterback, but that's kind of the perception now. The perception is that Tua is a great quarterback. But this Alabama team's so good that Jalen Hurts would still get it done. That's what a lot of these voters are probably going to start thinking. Who's somebody that the team wouldn't be as good? Who's a playoff team that probably wouldn't even be anywhere near here if it wasn't for their quarterback? They're going to go Kyler Murray. So I think your favorite for the entire season was Tua, but some late game situation in the Bama game, I think that's going to end up hurting Tua. Give me Kyler Murray. I think he's going to be the one that sneaks in and takes it. Might be the closest Heisman finish in history.
Well, Tua's going to win the Heisman. I still believe Tua's going to win the Heisman. Just, the stuff that he's done, the body of work that he's done over the course of the whole year, I think that's going to be enough for the committee. I'm pretty sure most of the people that was voting had already voted and knew who they were going to vote for. I think Tua's going to be there. Alabama's been the best team. They normally try to give it to the guy on the best team that's putting up good numbers as well. Unless you have those outliers, you have the Lamar Jackson who can lose a lot of games, but just numbers were just fantastic. I think Tua wins it. My pick would be Kyler Murray. What he's done this year, all the things that he brings as a quarterback. I just think what he's done is not that far off than what Tua has done. But just the fact Tua got a lot of stuff going for him. He's undefeated, SEC champ, playing for Alabama. And you only thrown 3 to 4 passes in the fourth quarter all year long. A lot of people is not going to overlook that. Tua is going to be your Heisman, but I think Kyler Murray should be the Heisman. I wouldn't be mad if they gave it to Tua, though.
Well, one thing I think that has really fired up for in Kyler Murray's favor is that, and look, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people give him flack, but because it's one of the worst defenses on one of the best teams, it's going to get scrutinized and analyzed. And I think people are going to say, well, look what if you take Kyler Murray off Oklahoma. Now, obviously, I don't know who their backup is, and it's Oklahoma, so they'd probably put somebody in there that's good. But in theory, they're going to say, oh, this team's in trouble because this team couldn't stop anybody. It is kind of the message that's been echoed because, like I said, I don't think Oklahoma's defense is that horrendous, but it's one of the worst defenses on one of the best teams. So it's always going to be looked at more than, say, like Louisville's defense, who gave up 50 points every game. Louisville does not even in the conversation, so you're not even bringing that up. So I think he's going to get a lot of benefit of that doubt. We saw this Georgia game, and we saw a lot of other positions and a lot of other players bail out a bad game by Tua. First ever 2 interception game. I just think that's going to be the nail in the coffin that's going to kind of knock him down.
Oh, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but the problem is Kyler Murray has just been that consistent great guy all year. But Tua, Tua has the hype. It's kind of like the Zion effect. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Me and Mike talked about it as well. That Zion is probably going to be the #1 pick just because of hype. Whether he deserves it or not, that's up to whoever's gonna pick him to justify that. But we all know RJ Barrett is probably the best. Tua has the hype, and Tua is good. But Kyler Murray has just been off the charts. We're talking 40 touchdowns this year, almost a 71 completion percentage rate and over 4,000 yards, plus what he does on the ground. I mean, Kyler Murray should win it. I just don't think he has the hype. I just don't think he has the backing of enough people. I think Tua playing for Alabama, I just think that's going to be too much this year.
Now, let me position a question for you, Billy, and you can hop in on this one, Mike. Do you think that because the Heisman voting will happen, the Heisman will happen this Saturday. Do you think it should be moved till after the playoffs? That it should be moved since in college, which is one of the rare sports where only in college do the postseason stats matter. Like you can still compile stats all the way in college basketball, in the NFL, and the NBA. Everything stops as soon as that last regular season game ends. As far as overall stats go. But in college, if you mentioned Tua throwing for 4,000 yards, if he has 2 great 500-yard games, he's going to get over 5,000 yards. And since we're considering all this, and we're considering these big-time performances, don't you think the Heisman should be pushed back to incorporate the entire picture?
Yes and no. Yeah, I guess because you don't want to, and I'll tell you why I say no. I'm going to say yes because when you are compiling postseason stats, the whole body of work should be included. But then I say no because everybody don't get a chance to, quote unquote, participate in that if your team didn't go as deep, but then we shouldn't be giving out participation awards. So since we are compiling regular season and the postseason stats into this, postseason should definitely take account and should wait till after the season.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my thought. I get your second part. I get your no on that, Billy. But also, I look at that. That's just kind of how college football works. I mean, there's 82 teams that are going to participate in a bowl game. So 82 teams are going to send someone to that 13th game. Um, and there's also years that you might have a participant who didn't compete in the even where it cancels right now. Let's say Notre Dame, Ian Book was in the consideration. He's not, but let's just say he was. Would you give him a handicap because he doesn't play a 13th game? He doesn't get to participate in a conference championship like of Haskins, Tua, and Murray. I mean, it's just kind of taken into consideration like that. And as far as fair goes, I've heard this debate all the time. I mean, Barry Sanders is one of the greatest rushers of all time coming out of college at Oklahoma State. His bowl game stats did not count. They didn't start doing that till much later. I mean, so now when you got guys saying, "Oh, I rushed for the most yards in college football history," shoot, let's take that. Let's go back and give Barry his extra 500 yards that he rushed for in his bowl game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mike, you want to?
Yeah. I am on the opposite side of you. I'm going to say no because I feel the Heisman and like all these after season awards, they are regular season awards.
Then why are we counting the conference championship? That's postseason.
Well, are we truly counting the conference championship? I mean,
yes,
because like
when they
I believe the votings are already done, right?
No, the voting stopped Sunday.
Oh, it stops this Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mike. I kind of see what Mike is saying because some people had already started voting before the conference championship game. I believe during the Oklahoma-Texas game, they was already saying that some people was waiting to watch the conference championship games, but a lot of the voters had already started vote. They had already cast their vote already, but before Saturday.
But see, that's a choice, and I guarantee you, when we watch the Heisman Awards Saturday, when they do like you do, when they're doing that 2-hour long interview, and they're like, "Oh, here's Tua with his 4,000 yards, and here's Kyler Murray with his X amount of yards, and here's Dwayne Haskins with his yards." I guarantee you, it includes the games from Saturday. Which, if you decided to vote early, that's on you. I mean, like to your point, Billy, the hype around Tua is so point that you could have turned that in halfway through the season.
And I think that's what I'm saying. That's why I think Tua was going to win because I don't think nothing he did would have changed somebody's mind.
Then if that's the case, then we shouldn't. If it needs to be one or the other. If it's going to have any postseason, it needs to be after all the bowls. It needs to be at the beginning of the year. You could have it the day after the championship game, which is on a Monday. You could have it that Saturday.
I agree.
But if you're
I agree with that. Go ahead.
If it's going to be a regular season award, then it needs to be. Then flip it. Push the conference championships back a week, and then have that bye week in between. Have your Heisman Award winner.
Right. Well, and if you kind of go to the professional ranks, like they have a regular season award, and then they have like a finals MVP or Super Bowl MVP. So like you could have like all your regular season awards, and then if you wanted to do a postseason reward, then you could incorporate something there too. But I really truly think, just to make it quote unquote fair, that it should be based off your 12 regular season games.
Well, and that's like I said, if that's the case, you need to bump it up a week. And that's the thing about the Heisman. Everybody, I'm not saying just you, Mike, but so many people with the Heisman. This is why I find it so intriguing this time of year. We almost get in the same debate with the college football playoff. The Heisman, so many people use the word fair with the Heisman. And with the Heisman, there is really no fair to it.
Right.
It's very seldom the best stats. It's like a mixture of, like Billy brought it up with Tua, it's best player on one of the best teams, but does he have the best attitude? Did he overcome something? It's almost like a smorgasbord or a big kettle pot of what the voters want. It's often not the guy on the best team. It's never hardly the guy with the best stats. They are always
looking for that next big story.
Right. It's hardly ever the first round pick. I mean, Baker Mayfield last year was one, but it's very seldom your best player in college football, which is usually some D lineman, and that just doesn't win the Heisman. It's just this is a sexy pick, and it's hard to put that into words. Which to your point, Mike, when you base something off subjectivity, which we talked about this with putting the best 4 teams in college football playoff, when you're basing off subjectivity, you got to throw the word fair out. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but because it's not. Because when you say, well, how did Kyler Murray or Tua win it over, I don't know, some dude out at Texas Tech who threw for 6,000 yards? Well, he threw for more yards, whatever. And the word fair just can't come into play because it's just not.
It's too many variables. They also take, the level of competition that you're playing, to your point, which is the reason why we never hear about these other guys that's really just slinging the ball all over the field.
And I think it's really impressive when you go down to like the dude from Memphis, who is going to probably run for 2,000 yards against a team that really doesn't have the best talent around him. When you see a guy at Alabama run for 2,000 yards, everybody's gushing, but he's got an NFL line. This kid at Memphis doesn't have an NFL line. The dude from UCF, 10 years ago, the Kevin Johnson, he didn't have an NFL line, but he still ran for 2,000 yards, which is impressive. 20 touchdowns, impressive. But the Heisman don't talk about that. He don't get invited. We don't want to hear that. We'd rather see the dude at Alabama run for 1,500 yards behind an NFL line. That's what we want to see. So, not to cut you off there, Billy, but it's just you can't have the word fair and Heisman in the same.
No, I agree.
Well, and if you guys don't mind, I'm going to add some more into this. There are 900 and some people that vote for the Heisman. When if you look at the NBA, there's 40 voters. I do believe in the NFL. There's 32 voters. So like this, with the 900 plus voters that you have, there is always those voters that say, I'm going to vote for my SEC guy. I'm going to vote for him for my Big 10 guy. I'm going to vote for my Big 12 guy. So, like the fairness or the stats and like all that stuff kind of gets thrown out the window in the end when you have 900 plus voters voting for the Heisman. So like the main question is, so why are there so many voters for like one? I understand that they have people in the media that vote, the old Heisman winners, and I'm not for sure who else votes, but that to me seems a little excessive in the end.
Well, the things like college football and baseball, college football holds on to its history. And you're going to have this. You have over 100 teams, and you got years and years of Heisman winners getting a say. Now, obviously, not all of them gets a vote because it's been going on for over 100 years. Some of them are dead. But they get to vote. You get the media involved. It's the same reason, Mike, that we have, we're missing out on good bowl matchups because the Sugar Bowl gets to pick its 2 teams. And it has to pick between SEC and Big 12. And there's a reason we're stuck with Georgia versus Texas instead of Georgia versus Michigan or Georgia versus Ohio State. It's the same reason that the NCAA basketball, over the span of 20 years, has no problem taking it from 16 teams to 72. I mean, I know we're not there yet. We're at 68. But trust me, there's going to be more add-ons coming because there's more money. There's not that history there. There's a reason that it's like pulling teeth to get the NFL, to get college football to go from 2 playoff teams to 4 playoff teams. We talked about this yesterday, me and Billy on the show. People think eight's coming, and it might, but I don't think it's coming in the next decade because all the contracts, all the money, all the history, all the naysayers, all the alumni fighting it. College football, for some reason, is like baseball. They do not like change. They want that old way to stand. They want that history. The reason you'll never see Alabama in chrome helmets. I mean, they just want that history, and they're going to hold on to it. And if the Heisman is this prestigious thing that can't be put into words, I don't think that's probably going to go up. There'll probably be 2,000 voters before it's all said and done.
Yeah, they're going to keep adding. It just adds more eyes as well. I think on a small scale of people, voting on it, I don't think that it'll help. You get a large scale of people you're going to have better outcomes. You're going to have probably closer outcomes unless we just see somebody just fly off the chart. So I don't have a problem with all the voting, just certain knickknacks in there.
Alrighty, guys. So let's go ahead and transition here to Overreaction Tuesday. I'm going to start it off with the NFL and basically what we alluded to earlier this year, that defensive players do not make or break a team. But Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack are having MVP caliber seasons. Matthew Lyle, overreaction, underreaction. Aaron Donald should win the NFL MVP this season.
Well, So I'm going to say overreaction only on the sense that if we're taking, we talked about this with Andrew Luck a couple weeks ago, that if you're taking it at the truest form of the word, most valuable player, a lot of guys who aren't going to get love should get love if you take the word of who's most valuable to their team. But much like the Heisman, the MVP is the popularity contest. We want the sexy pick. We want the face of the franchise holding it up. So, and that team's just so good. I mean, Aaron Donald, like Khalil Mack, I might give you that one, but Aaron Donald, that team is just so good. I mean, Jared Goff's playing out of his mind. I'm always very high on Sean McVay. Todd Gurley just is the guy that's putting up the numbers, and he's got. It's just hard not to like him. He's on the NFL commercials being silly. The guy took a knee, gave up another touchdown for his own stats to seal the game. I think it was against the Packers. You know, just things like that are going to come into play before you ever get to a guy like Aaron Donald, who is wrecking havoc, but he just falls in line with the faceless masses.
I'm going to say underreaction. I think guys like that should be considered for awards like this because they're also out there playing as well. So if we're going to say, the most valuable, the way that they vote on this, I'm going to take into account that they're saying the best player. And if that best player just so happened to be a defensive lineman, then why not him? So yeah, but I agree. It's more of that popularity thing. We want the shiny guy up there. We want the diamond ring. So yeah, that's the reason why quarterbacks normally get it, and that's usually who we see get, unless a running back just have a season that's just off the charts. But mostly it's quarterbacks. But if judging by the way that they vote for this, and they don't normally vote valuable, they normally vote best. And if we're saying who are the best players, I definitely think Aaron Donald is one of the best players in the NFL.
Well, so you also have to look, is he the best player? Now, see, I think they've lined up for this to work out because not only do they do rookie defensive player and offensive player of the year, they have NFC offensive player, they have AFC, so you kind of get to get more. I don't know if when I think MVP, I don't think Aaron Donald is the best player in the league. That's the first off where I would have that problem. I think he's definitely up there. But also, if you're a defensive guy and you want to win, to Billy's point of it being diamonds, you got to put up with diamond plays. I know he makes the sound play. He's the guy that's stopping the run in the backfield. He's the guy that's sacking your quarterback. But look at defensive guys who's been considered up here. You got to be eccentric. You got to be like an LT or Ray Lewis. You got to be passionate, strong. You got to make plays in the passing game, rushing game. You got to get some interceptions. You got to get some touchdowns. You got to, which in today's time period you can't do it, but you got to knock somebody's block off, or you got to be like a Deion Sanders and just doing it in other aspects.
And you don't think that Aaron Donald is that type of player?
I mean, he is, but he doesn't look like it. Like he just doesn't give you that. There's on the
I don't know about that. I'm gonna disagree. I mean,
go back.
This guy's an interior defensive lineman. This guy's an interior defensive lineman who gets double teamed 70% of the snaps, and he still got 16 and a half sacks.
But you admitted
as an interior defensive lineman. No. I agree. Yeah. They're not going to look at it.
Look at the defenders.
What is and what isn't.
Mike,
this guy is good.
Who's the last defensive guy to win MVP?
Nobody.
So, I mean, but you were going close to Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson made a lot of plays. He made a lot of big time. Look, I'm not taking it away from him, Billy. I agree with you. He's making some great plays. But if a defensive guy is going to get consideration, you talked about this several times, Billy. We watch the game differently than a lot of fans, than a lot of casual fans. If a defensive guy is going to win it, They have to convince the casual fan. The casual fan does not notice Aaron Donald getting through double teams and having a 2-yard tackle for loss. The casual fan, if they're going to notice somebody on defense, is going to be your Lawrence Taylor, your mouth of the South, somebody flying across, knocking somebody into the dirt, somebody scoring 7, 8 touchdowns a year, somebody, basically, which you couldn't do it like nowadays, but basically picking somebody up and body slamming them. For somebody to win it on defense, the average fan, the casual person chilling on the couch on Sunday has to notice him and be like, wow, he's good. And
I agree with that statement that, the numbers just have to fly off for him to get consideration. I was just speaking on whether he's that kind of player or not. And he is that kind of player. That's what I was referring to.
I mean, he is, but you have to me and you, we notice it, but to like the casual fans, you have to sell it, and the NFL doesn't like selling that.
All right, guys, and just to answer your question, Matthew, Lawrence Taylor was the only defensive player in 1986 to win the MVP award. Charles did win the Heisman. That was
if you go back, and just to the point on that, and like I said, I'm not disagreeing with anything Billy said. But if you go watch just some and the NFL was much different back then. But if you go watch film of Billy, just pick a casual sports fan. I don't know if it's your girl. I don't know if it's somebody else that you know, maybe a parent.
Yeah, I got a friend. Yeah.
There's maybe not a big sports fan, but will watch it if it's on. Show them film of the two guys, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to gravitate to Lawrence Taylor because he was flash, he was excitement, he was joy. Aaron Donald, he doesn't talk. I don't know if I've ever heard him talk. He just makes the play and then he goes back to the huddle. And I think that's why the NFL is not really behind him, promoting him. Even though I don't think they're anywhere near as good, more people who aren't football fans are going to know who Richard Sherman is than they would Aaron Donald.
All right, guys. So moving on here to the next overreaction, underreaction. As we all know, the Packers head coaching job is now open, and it's a fairly high seeking job, in my opinion here. So overreaction, underreaction. Matthew, I'll start with you. Josh McDaniels will be the next coach of the Green Bay Packers.
See, I'm going to go overreaction, but it's not much, and I can be easily talked off this ledge. I think Josh McDaniels, and look, I'm not saying that coach job is better than the Packers job. The coach job had some uncertainty. You didn't know where Andrew Luck was going to be. You had no clue what your squad was going to be, much like outside of Aaron Rodgers on the Packers and their weapons on defense. You didn't really know what you were getting. But there's something that they told Josh Daniels that made him literally quit the job in the middle of the night and come back to New England. He knows something. Now, it could have just been a one-off. It could have been something petty and ridiculous. It could have been something about the Colts organization. I don't know. But I just have a feeling there's something he knows that no one else knows, that him, Belichick, and Robert Kraft know, that keeps him taking that job. If that is the case, I don't see him bouncing 1 year after. Now, if something may have changed, if Belichick says, you know what, I was retiring after this year, but now I'm staying 3 or 4 more years, yeah, then I could see him taking that job. But right now, I'm going to go very small overreaction because I think he knows something that none of us else know, and I'm very intrigued by what that is.
Yeah, I'm going to say not an overreaction. And to your point, Matthew, about the Colts job, that's just not a good football team. So, I mean, would I want to go to that team? No, I wouldn't. Andrew Luck probably makes those guys better than what it seemed. But if I'm choosing the team that just made it to back-to-back Super Bowls, over a team that hasn't really done anything, who's underachieved with Andrew Luck as their quarterback, I'm probably going to take Brady and Belichick over Andrew Luck. But I think it's not overreaction because he has a quarterback like Tom Brady. The other guy that we talk about in the who is the best quarterback in the league discussions. And by the way, he's 6 years younger. So I could very well see Josh McDaniels taking this job. Green Bay offense is not bad. You're gonna have Aaron Rodgers. You got Aaron Jones. You still have Devontae Adams. The Saint Equanis or whatever his name is. You still got those guys. Jimmy Graham should be back for you next year. So this is a very good situation for an offensive minded guy if he get the right defensive guy, and he can put a good scheme in there. They can draft some guys in this year draft that's going to make some plays. I like the Alexander kid that they got out of Louisville last year. If they can build on that, that's a very intriguing job for Josh McDaniels.
I mean, I get it, and on paper maybe, but when I look deeper, I'm not getting that excited about this Packers job. The parallels between Andrew Luck and Aaron Rodgers are growing towards each other. See, now obviously you didn't know what Andrew Luck had last year because he had a weird injury that was really dragging out. Aaron Rodgers is really compiling those injuries. Now there's been little bits, but they seem to be having an effect on him over the last 2 years. You got a Colts team that, yes, it is probably 100% Andrew Luck, but they are tiptoeing around this playoff line. And now you look at this Packers team, they're going to miss the playoffs, and I don't know how many last year the Colts team that he turned down went 4-12. I don't know how many more wins this Packer team's going to have, and that's where I think that concern is.
But do you think this Packers team is better than that Colts team?
Not by much, outside of Aaron Rodgers. Like if you would have told me, now we don't have this, so this is the biggest factor I think. If you would have told me we're getting a healthy Andrew Luck, it don't have to be the numbers he's putting up. It don't have to be the 500 passes he's already thrown. If you just told me he was going to be healthy, it's tough for me because I actually with these teams, the way Aaron Rodgers is playing, getting older, and I know Tom Brady's doing the same. But if you watch that game Tom Brady played against the Vikings, he's making all the smart throws. Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady only like 3 or 4 times held onto the ball longer than 2 or 3 seconds. Aaron Rodgers is still doing that. Now, obviously, he's making the throws. I don't want to take that from him. But you give me a guy who's standing back there a while, he's already injury prone, they're coming for him. I'm not that sold over the Packers. I don't know. If you don't change the roster, even if you change Josh McDaniels, I don't know that the Packers make the playoffs next year either. So, look,
I don't know. I just won't take records in account because, we all seen good teams have bad records. Just something go wrong that year. The Cowboys a few years ago, obviously they was missing their quarterback. That was a really good football team. They come back the next year and they win 12 games. So I get your point and the records there, but if you telling me that I get a chance to coach a Andrew Luck or a Aaron Rodgers, a Packers organization that has been known to always kind of thrive, so to speak, give me the Packers. That's not even close.
I mean, I just don't think. I think you're buying in stock that looks really good a long time ago, or not too long ago. Not a long time ago. But I don't think that gold is that glitter anymore. And
I mean, you think about that. Just one quick point, and then I'll let you get in there. You think about their losses this year. They all been on the road, and most of them has been because they blunder an error and not giving Aaron Rodgers back the football. Now, I'm not saying that he probably would have completed it or he would have he would have brought them back, but I'm just saying a lot of losses this year, outside of these few that's been down the stretch right here, has been because the team somebody made a blunder or an error and Aaron Rodgers couldn't get the football back. This team is better than their record. They just didn't play like it this year.
Well, let me tell you also what coaches are considering. You told me they were looking at different organizations. They're matching the coaching. They're matching the coach. And let me tell you what also they notice. They are noticing a team. Look, you're not just the offensive coordinator. You just don't get to sit back and chill with Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones and Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams. No, you're in charge over all 53 people. The people making these blunders. Now I know they got rid of Montgomery, but you're dealing with this entire team. And if I'm Josh McDaniels, if I'm any coach, one thing I'm noticing, unless Aaron Rodgers is coming up and giving me a hug like he does his State Farm agent, if I'm any coach, I'm noticing. You mean to tell me Mike McCarthy made it to, I think it was 10 straight winning seasons, made it to the playoffs, won the Super Bowl, and when we got some trouble. Now I don't know what's going on in that locker room. I don't know. But the moment Aaron Rodgers had a problem with me, my leash got extremely short and I found myself without a job. I'm taking that into consideration. Unless Aaron Rodgers calls me and says, Josh McDaniels, I want you here. I'm considering what if because Josh McDaniel obviously has his own style. What if Josh
Josh
McDaniels
McDaniels.
what if he wants to incorporate that style with some of those plays, and Aaron Rodgers is like, no, this ain't me. Now you're on the chopping block already. And we talked about it 1 year in. There's some hot names coming out every year. You don't get the same credit that you had with McCarthy with that Super Bowl. You're 1 year in. You ain't done nothing yet, son. We got rid of McCarthy. We'll get rid of you. I guarantee you that's playing into their thoughts.
I agree. I agree with that statement that Aaron Rodgers have to love you. But don't you think a guy who's worked with Tom Brady, a guy that Tom Brady respects, you don't think that guy can come in and coach Aaron Rodgers?
Look, I've heard it a
I
lot.
think he can.
He can, but I've heard it a lot with you see it a lot in the NBA. You hear it a lot in a lot of pro sports. What's good? There's different kind of pro stars.
What's good for the goose ain't good for the gander.
Right.
Yeah.
Like example, Phil Jackson did really great things with Jordan and Kobe because they were spitting images of each other. I often wondered, I don't know. I mean, would LeBron, who is notoriously known for kind of being his own head coach, would LeBron have bowed down the same and bought into that triangle the same? I don't know. I mean, I'm just positioning a question. They're two all-stars. Jordan and LeBron are two of the greatest, but they're different. And Rodgers and Brady's two of the greatest. But Josh McDaniels, outside of flirting with Tim Tebow, Josh McDaniels hasn't had to go headbutt with a star. Like when Tom Brady yells at Josh McDaniels, he knows where that's coming from. If me and you get into a heated debate, you know where that's coming from because me and you know each other. If you get into the same heated debate with some dude on the street, you don't know that guy yet. You don't know where those words of frustration are coming from. When Tom Brady comes at him and yells at him and points in his face, love it or hate it, he knows where that comes from. I don't know how long is it going to take him to get on that same page with Aaron Rodgers. Does Aaron Rodgers have that much time left in him? And does the Packers organization have that much patience in Josh McDaniel? I just think there's a lot of concern here. And I'm still – look, I'll give it to you. I'll concede and say that the Packers job is better than the coach job, just on face value. But still, there's 32 NFL head coaching jobs. This is the sorority that a lot of people talk about you do not turn down. He didn't know that Mike McCarthy was going to get fired. He didn't know that the Packers job was going to come available. There's a reason he turned down one of those head coaching jobs. Don't matter who it's for. The head coaching job is a small committee that is an honor to be a part of, as you hear so many people talk about. There's a reason he turned it down to just go be a coordinator. And I think it's deeper than I'd rather coach this team than that team. I think there's something deeper there, and only time will tell.
All righty, guys. That's going to do it for the Overreaction Tuesday here. As always, guys, great insights on that. But we're going to finish on today's show with a rant from Billy Hatton. Billy, the floor is yours.
Okay, so you guys are well aware of my ties to Florida State, how I feel about my Seminoles, and how I feel about Willie Taggart being the coach of Florida State. I've said on many occasions that I don't think that he should be coaching Florida State. I don't expect to be national champs every year, but I expect to be competing. And, we got the soccer team that just won a national championship the other day. Congratulations to them, the women's soccer team. The baseball team is always, in the College World Series. Mike Martin has got that team great. Leonard Hamilton now got the basketball program, where people are actually talking about Florida State basketball. Volleyball team is normally there. Softball team is always good. But now we got Walt Bell, offensive coordinator, who's only been there for 1 year, leaving to take the head coaching job at UMass, which gives me every indication, and it puts validation on every point I made that Willie Taggart is not a good coach. I get it. This is most guys dream to be a head coach, but when you leave a program like Florida State to go take a head coaching job, a pay cut at that, to go be a head coach at UMass, it tells me everything I need to know. Sam Howell, the quarterback that we're recruiting out of North Carolina, he's probably going to leave now because the only reason why he was committed was because of Walt Bell. Who knows who else is going to leave this staff in the next coming weeks and months leading up to next year's season? How many more recruits are gonna leave? Now, we already had Jimbo leave in the middle of the night, took his $75 million and just piped out. Now, who else is going to do that to bail on Taggart? Because his inability to coach, his inability to make adjustments. Everywhere he's been, his teams has been 2 or 3 in most penalties and penalty yards. I don't see where this is going. They need to make a change sooner than later. I get it. He's a Florida kid, but this Taggart experience just ain't working for me.
Alrighty, guys, you heard it there from a Florida State fan himself. As always, guys, thank you for joining us. We'll be back on a Thursday edition, same time, same place. If you guys are new, be sure to go ahead and follow the podcast. If you're on like iTunes, Google Podcasts, Amazon, etc., be sure to share this with a couple friends as well. But as always, thanks for joining us, Matthew, Billy. Thank you guys as well, and we'll talk to you guys on Thursday.